this has to be like, I think, the worst news of the season, in my opinion. Kyrie Irving is one of my favorite players of all time. And there's several reasons why. So from like a basketball purist standpoint, Kyrie Irving is one of the most talented players I've ever seen play the game. His skill level is impeccable. This guy has a very, very diverse way of scoring the rock. He's nasty with the pill. The handles, his dribbling, and not just like that part, but knowing where to be on the floor, right? Offensively and defensively. Like, he knows where he wants to get to in terms of spots on the floor. He knows how he can score from those particular locations against certain players, certain defenses. His shooting is really good, very consistent, very reliable. There's really not a place on the floor he can't score. And very typically, if it's within like 15 feet, this guy can shoot with both sides, right? Left hand, right hand. He's not like a high-flying dunker, but he's so good around the rim. The spin, the English off the backboard. Like I was speaking to, the left hand, the right hand. Has he kisses off the glass. I've seen him finish at the rim before too. The fadeaway. You know, like, it's a masterclass in hard work and becoming automatic. And the fact that he shoots the three-point shot proficiently, he shoots free throws proficiently, just very good player. And I think something that's very, very underrated and underappreciated about Kyrie is defensively, he's very, very smart. He's actually a good defender. Anybody who tells you Kyrie Irving is a weak defender is not watching. It's not easy for a guard to defend a pick and roll. Like, you have to be very aggressive. You have to fight through screens. You have to play anticipation. You kind of try to figure out where you need to be in the next step. In a league where they run pick and roll every damn time down the floor. And he plays it pretty well. And he plays passing lanes. And he'll defend his position. There's not many guards that he can't stay in front of, right? In a league where the offensive player has the advantage, right? They get all the calls. You know, the referees are going to blow whistles. So you really got to move your feet. You really got to try to be smart with your hands and not pick up a bunch of fouls. I see intelligent defense from Kyrie. I'm not saying he's Gary Payton. I'm not saying he's Jordan or Kobe. None of those things. He's not that type of defender. But he's a good defender. He's very serviceable. He is not a bad defender at all. And his defensive IQ is very good. So there's a lot of anticipation and kind of knowing where to be. He tore his ACL last week. And this was devastating. I know it's devastating to him. But for fans of the game and people that appreciate his game and what he's stood for his entire career and kind of the evolution of who he's become, Kyrie Irving is a redemption story. This guy was shit on by everybody, including the national media, LeBron James, all those pundits that talk about him in the media. You know, Stephen A. Smith was targeting him for a while, that whole situation in Brooklyn. They made him seem like he was selfish. They made him seem like he was a malcontent. And actually, none of that was even true. But they ran with that. And that became the story, and that became what Kyrie was to the media and to people who listened to national media, which was bullshit. Every single teammate of Kyrie's that really got to know him, and especially probably since he left Boston, I think there's been the evolution of him as a man. So since that point, I think he's learned a lot about himself. He's learned a lot about how to deal with people in the media. And he's taken steps forward to be better. And his game is still elite and special. Even though he's in his... I don't know, what season is Kyrie Irving in? I mean, I remember him as an all-star in 2014. You know, he's 32 years old. I think he was drafted, he was probably 19, right? So he's a veteran. 13 years in the league, something like that, I'm not sure. I have to go back and look at all that, but, you know, Kyrie is accomplished. And I think it's about damn time people start celebrating this guy before it's too late, because Lord knows if he's going to come back the same player after a torn ACL. There's no guarantee that a player comes back the same. I guess, the younger you are, the better the chances are. But there's not a 100% chance that he's going to come back even 90% of the player he was. He might lose a step. He might not be as quick. He might, be just a shell of himself. We don't know. So what I'm going to do with this segment of my podcast is celebrate Kyrie Irving for who he has become, the player he is. So I just spoke about the person and kind of like his story, but, and speak to like the leadership and all those things in Dallas. But like, this dude has accomplished stuff from the moment he stepped on the floor in college. We knew he was going to be special. I remember people trying to figure out, who should the Cavs draft? Should they draft him? Or was it Jabari Parker, I think, was in that same draft? I don't know. There was somebody else, and it was like, oh, do we do Kyrie or do we draft this other guy? Without a shadow of a doubt, I was clamoring for Kyrie. It wasn't even a question, because you just knew it when you watched him play. Everything was silky smooth butter. The footwork, the handles, the scoring. You just know it when you see it. You know a hooper when you see it. You don't ask questions. You just know. I knew that when I saw Kyrie, and I'm sure a lot of you out there did too. And if you're too young to remember that version of Kyrie, he was damn good at a very young age. Kyrie Irving is the 2010 McDonald's All-American. Kyrie Irving made the All-Rookie First Team in 2012. He was the NBA Rookie of the Year that year. In 2021, he joined that 50-40-90 club. 50% shooting, 40% from three, 90% from free throw. That's an elite club. Two-time All-NBA third team. All-NBA second team once. NBA All-Star Game MVP in 2014. 9-time NBA All-Star. And I think that 2016 disruption when he didn't make the All-Star Game, I think that's because of an injury. Because if you look at it, he was an All-Star from 2013 to 15, not in 16, but then again in 17, 18, 19, not in 2020, but then again in 2021, not in 22, but then again in 23 and 25. He's very much so deserving of all-star considerations every year at a position where it's hard to distinguish yourself. And if you play in a certain conference, you got to compete with guys like Steph Curry and Dame Lillard, who are like fan favorites, and people just vote them. I mean, they're obviously deserving, but I'm just saying the way that this works, the media already hates your guts. You're Kyrie Irving. This guy was a three-point contest champion in 2013. An NBA champion in 2016. In my opinion, hitting the biggest shot in NBA Finals history in Game 7 in Golden State to win the finals. A game where my Cleveland Cavaliers did one of the most impressive things in the history of sports, which is come back from a 3-1 deficit in the NBA Finals. Had never been done before. A lot of people like to give LeBron a lot of credit. I'm good with that. LeBron deserves a lot of credit. But if you watch the last 5 minutes of that game, last 4 minutes of that game, you realize that nobody could score. Except one guy. And it's Kyrie Irving. Never scared of the moment. Always ready to lead. The dude's got guts. The dude's got courage. The dude is fearless. And the skill to match it. It's not reckless. You know, you watch certain guys play and you know that they're going to be special. And then it actually happens and it's just confirmation. That's what we got out of Kyrie during his career for the last 13 seasons. So he's played for the Cavs where he won a championship, did something really special there. The Boston Celtics, I wouldn't say that was his best version of himself. I'm sure he has a lot of regrets. Things in Brooklyn didn't really pan out like he probably expected. He teamed up with some really good players. It just didn't work out. It goes to show you that just because you link up with your buddies doesn't guarantee that you guys, because you're all good players, you're going to all of a sudden be champions. And then in Dallas, where I think peak Kyrie kind of happened as a leader. The total package. Like physically, he may have been his best in Cleveland. I'm not going to argue that. But from like the leadership standpoint, the defense standpoint, making things work with your teammates, the nuances, the intangibles, he really put it on display in Dallas. And he was killing it this year as an individual player and as a leader. AD goes down, injury after the trade. First game, back from the injury in Dallas. Luka gets traded. Through all that tumultuous time in Dallas, steady rock is Kyrie Irving. So I'm disappointed. I'm sad. It's terrible. I really do hope he comes back strong. I hope he gets a full, speedy recovery. Praying for him. Kyrie, one of my favorites, man. Absolutely.